Tired of serving up the same old tasteless victuals to your family? Step up your grill game with new seasonings from Cloy's Southern Eats. Based off famous Southern recipes, our seasonings will add what's been missing to your family's feast. Add it to steak, chicken, shrimp, you name it. Serving up these fixings is going to make you the hero at home. So head on over to CloysSouthernEats.com and order yours today. Come get you some.
And everybody, welcome to the final day of November, November 30th, 2023, the Thursday night edition. Presented by Hogville.net. I want to thank our proud sponsor, Cloy's Southern Eats. They have done a great, incredible job for us all season long. You know, it's not been the football season we thought, but you know what? They're still, they got great products. To make sure to get some today. You got the holidays coming up. And spread the Christmas cheer of some great food and some great tastes with Cloy's Southern Eats. Go re-experience the magic of Cloy's and come get you some. Marty, how you doing tonight, man?
Doing great. Getting rained on and glad to be in where it's dry right now. getting ready for Thursday night NFL football.
Oh yeah, and everybody, if you got thoughts, comments, posts, throw them up there. We'll answer them with you. But I want to bring on our first guest, and I'm going to tell you, this guy knows a little bit about football, probably more than you and I combined have ever forgot. Or he's forgot more than we know. But this guy played for Bobby Petrino. He knows the system. He knows how much Bobby can bring out in a player and make him better. And that's what I felt like, a lot of the ex-players that Bobby had here on the Hill have echoed over the last couple of days. And without any further ado, former Minnesota Viking, Carolina, and Razorback, Jarius Wright. My man, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Oh, yeah, I appreciate y'all having me.
What was your first thought whenever you saw the tweet, maybe by Chris Lowe, or just the information on social media come across when you saw that Bobby Petrino might be in the mix as OC at Arkansas?
My initial thought was it's almost too good to be true. I feel like Bobby is the OC that Arkansas fans have been waiting for. That's kind of the best way I could put it.
And so, my first thought was this, like you said, this couldn't be true because I thought that there might be some things that hanging out there might have prevented him from becoming a coach at Arkansas, again, not the, but a coach at Arkansas. And those legal those legal hoops have already been dealt with and they're fine. Everything's, we're moved past it. We're looking towards the here and the now and the future. And I think that that's what a lot of Razorback fans are also doing because, you've had a 4-8 season. Sam Pittman and the offense was looking really bleak towards the end of the season. Defense was great. Defense was more than we could have ever expected. But Sam, knowing coming into next year, he was going to have to do something that was going to turn the entire culture of that team on its head on the offensive side of the ball. And I'm going to tell you, he did.
I have to agree with you. With this hiring, Bobby is a proven guy. He's also been there. He loves the state of Arkansas, and his problem wasn't football. So that firing or him getting fired wasn't because he wasn't a good football coach. And so now we have him back, someone we know that can do it, that could take a program from, not like he's the head coach or anything like that, but we know his offense, we're familiar with it, and he scores points. We know that for sure.
So, from wide receiver's perspective, what can that room expect from Bobby? And kind of gives us a little bit of insight on what he is expecting from the wide receiver group.
Well, number one, you better be able to run all day. He expects you to be in shape. You most likely should be the best, the most conditioned group on the team, because he likes to throw the ball deep. Not that isn't all he does, but he likes big plays, and you'll you'll run a lot of deep routes, that's for sure. And you'll practice hard. He gets you to practice hard, and I just can't say a lot of good things about him, because I'm so excited for him. I'm so excited to have him back. Just because I simply know what he can do for an offense and what he can do for a team.
I was watching the press conference this afternoon whenever Sam and Bobby were in the Royals Athletic Center this afternoon. And one of the things that I kind of took away from what Bobby said was a lot of nights, sleepless nights, trying to figure out the terminology that Jimbo was wanting him to use and trying to fit his scheme into what Jimbo wanted on the field. He comes here now, and it's his baby. How much easier is it going to be for him to be able to translate what he's wanting to see from the practice field to the playing field for, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, even offensive line?
Well, it's 10 times easier when it's your stuff, because you're teaching everyone your lingo. So it's easy to go out there and say, okay, I want you to do this because that's what I know, and that's how I've taught you to do it. But when it's not your system, number one, you have to get used to kind of not doing your stuff and learning his stuff, and then being able to give that his terminology, and you might call it something different. So sometimes your mind kind of reverts back to what you call it, but that's not his terminology. But you're the OC, and that's kind of where it gets hard.
And everybody, I want to thank y'all for jumping on tonight with us. We got Jarius Wright, special guest, with Marty and myself here tonight on the Huddle. And we're just kind of picking Jarius's brain a little bit on what it looks like from a player's perspective that has played with for Bobby in his system. Whenever you get between those lines, is there a more fierce competitor that wants to win and wants to put his players in the best position to be successful other than Bobby Petrino?
He's definitely one of the top. The things we practice and how hard we practice and the different things we've done at practice. He wanted to put every single person in the best position to succeed. And we worked like that off the field. The performances we put on Saturday, the games were won throughout the week. And that's kind of how Bobby sees it. And looking back at it now and knowing what I do know, man, the preparation that we put into each and every week was it was crazy, and it was amazing to see, just like, to know what we did in the NFL and then to know what we did there in college, and see the differences and the similarities. Bobby knows football, and that's one thing you can guarantee.
One of the things that I've also noticed that Arkansas, they got raked on really hard with Missouri State, Texas A&M this year, is wide receivers being able to sit in space open in that 15 to 25 yard range right off the line of scrimmage. With his spacing and the scheme, the wide receivers that are on the hill right now, do you think that they will be able to benefit from what Bobby will be able to do in putting him in the best position possible to succeed?
You know, if people can't succeed or receivers can't succeed in Bobby's offense, then, you know, I don't want to be like this about it, but it's the receiver's fault. I mean, Bobby has put many. I mean, a lot of even before he got to Arkansas, he put receivers in the NFL, like Roddy White and Harry Douglas. Those those guys, those type of guys. And even when he got to Arkansas, me, Joe, Greg Childs, also DJ. Just to add, non-receivers, but tight end, which is kind of receiver. Chris Gregg, DJ Williams, Kobe Hamilton. So I forgot Herndon. If y'all remember him, he was he was a little after me, but Bobby has put receivers in the NFL. I don't know what else receivers at Arkansas or receivers just thinking about going to Arkansas, or I don't know what else they need to see, because it can be done, and it can be done at Arkansas.
And that's what he proved too, is that he can. Arkansas can have a top 10, top 5 program, and that the groundwork is there, the foundation is there, and the players that are available can make that happen with the scheme that he has, and that's what I think a lot of fans are excited about, because I mean, Al Davis said it best: "Just win, baby."
Yeah, he said it. And at the end of the day, nobody goes back and looks how you won; they just look to see if you won.
Marty, do you have anything?
The first thing that kind of jumps out of my mind, Jarius, is, Bobby Petrino had so much success with you and Greg and Childs. Is there anybody down in Warren right now that you've been looking at? Do you think they could pull in this first year that he's there as the offensive coordinator?
Warren is always producing talent, so I know it's a couple kids down there, right now that could play in Bobby's system and be very good in this system. And it's other receivers in Arkansas who can do that. And that's kind of what Bobby was best at. Bobby didn't get like all the 5 stars or all the 4 stars. Bobby would turn the 2 stars and the 3 stars into really good players.
What are the differences that you see in what the average fan's looking at, and what Dan Enos ran, because I know you've watched a lot of Razorback football, what Dan Enos ran and what Kendall Briles ran? What are some of the differences that you might see in that bring some success?
Well, I know just with Bobby's mentality, it was every down counted, every down mattered, no matter if it was 3rd and 15, if it was 2 seconds before half. Bobby wasn't scared to take that shot at any moment in the game. And I don't ever want to talk about any of the old OCs or anything like that, but they were a little more hesitant to take the shots that I know Bobby would have took. And sometimes you have to be able to take those shots and live with it. And for Bobby, they worked out in his favor because they were calculated shots. I guess that's what that would be the better word to say about Bobby. He took calculated shots.
Would this be fair? This is the way I kind of looked at his offense. He liked to throw it between the 20s. And then when you got inside the red zone, he liked to have a big back that would drive the ball. He liked to run the ball when you got inside the 20-yard line, which I'm sure Sam Pittman. So you think that they may be looking at some guys that will fit the personnel system a little bit more there?
Well, we always, when Bobby was there, we always had a big back. So I know for a fact, he'll probably go get a big back. We had Broderick, then Cody Walker came along. We also had, Nile Davis wasn't a little guy, let's be honest. And even though
Right.
DJ Johnson was short, he wasn't a little guy either. So
No,
Running Wingo was also a big guy. So we
he's a
had
beast.
we had some big we had some big backs that could go.
Well,
Looking
I
at
know everybody's excited to see what he's going to put together, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Now that we're getting into the transfer portal and the recruiting season, and he's involved in that. Is he good? Is he a good closer in closing recruits?
I would like to think so. He was he was the one that not kept us here, but he was the one that kind of sealed the deal because Coach Horton was the guy that kept us here. Most of the Arkansas guys, whenever that whole coaching search was going on, and as soon as Bobby got in, the first thing he did was he recruited. He went on a recruiting trail, and I think that was really really big for him being able to get the best kids in Arkansas.
Jarius, I got Jay, I got something here real quick. Greg Parker, Jarius, can you see a distinct and obvious change in Coach Petrino? He seems really humble.
Just the times that I've talked to him after the situation, never about the situation, but of course after the situation, he seemed to be I'm not gonna say better guy because I never thought he was a bad guy. Uh, you know, Everybody makes mistakes and everybody messes up. Some are just in different ways. Uh, but I think he's definitely, I guess people would say, a changed guy. But I thought he was always a good guy.
Do you stay in contact with him pretty good?
I contact him over Twitter some, and we talked a couple months ago when he had just got the job at Texas A&M.
There's been some folks on here lobbying for both you and DJ Williams. You to coach the wide receivers, and DJ come up and coach the tight ends and lead the Hawks to a national championship.
I wish it was that easy.
Okay. And also said Leslie Bynum states on here, Barry Foster was the best fullback Arkansas had. Now I don't know, man. Cody Walker was pretty stout. That guy was.
I liked Kiero Small. So definitely, he would get my vote, but that's only because he played. He played for us. So.
Well, Marty, do you have anything real quick before we get Jay out of here?
Well, again, I know everybody's excited about it. I'd like to, have Jarius just kind of tell what he's been up to. We were talking to him, and you were on the coaching staff there with Ryan Mallett there at Whitehall before the tragedy occurred, and I wasn't really sure what you were doing now, and I think it'd be interesting to tell where you're at and what you're doing now.
Well, like you said, I was coaching with Ryan at Whitehall, and my wife she didn't end up getting pregnant, but my wife was getting ready to have my little girl. So I ended up not moving closer to home, but I ended up now I'm coaching at Sylvan Hills. So I stay in North Little Rock, but I'm coaching in Sylvan Hills, which is right down the street.
What kind of year did you guys have there at Sylvan Hills?
We didn't have a great year, but we got a new coach, new great coach, and just anytime the program starts, it's just a rebuild. It was a rebuild year, if we're being honest.
Well, I know that the pressure is on a little bit. I think that we're not honest if we don't say that that Sam Pittman needs to show some improvements, and I know everybody, a lot of the fans are excited about Bobby Petrino coming back from what he did here before, and so I know that they want to get a good strong start. They opened the season there in Little Rock, and and then they have Oklahoma State on the second game there in Stillwater. You think that all of this will get in place, and that he'll be good to get all of this in place by the time we get the season started?
I think so. With just the hard work and how much effort he puts into um, just making sure everything is right and everybody knows their assignment and what's going on. I know for a fact that he'll be able to get us on the right track by the beginning of the season for sure. I
What
truly
players do
believe
you
it.
see right now that Arkansas has that you've had a chance to watch this past season that are a good fit for Bobby Petrino and what he does?
Well, I think Armstrong. I think the receiver um, reminds me a lot of kind of what Greg or Kobe was, kind of as our bigger receivers. Then you got Isaiah Santega up there, and you have two really good tight ends there, um, which Bobby does a great job of getting the ball to the tight ends. And then,
I think that Haas, when he comes back, and he was really a huge playmaker
yeah,
as a true freshman, but I see him fitting in well with Bobby Petrino.
he might benefit the most, if we're being, honest. He might benefit the most from having Bobby. Then, I mean, our backup tight end was really good also. So, Bobby being able to run two tight end formations, I mean, I think we have the guys up there right now that that could work in Bobby's system. Not to mention whatever we bring in.
I know that Otis Kirk had talked about and said that by the time Luke Has leaves Arkansas, he's going to be a Mackey Award winner. Now you throw in Bobby as the OC. That list almost sounds like a runaway train to me.
Yeah, I think it's easy. Yeah, it's I mean, after after Georgia tight end leaves, yeah, he'll definitely be ready for that award.
Well, Marty, any last thoughts before we get Jay out of here?
Just looking forward to getting everything started. And Jarius, it's great to see you. I was kind of wondering about what you were doing and where you were now. Anyway, and so great to see you, and glad you were able to jump on with us tonight.
Yes, sir. I appreciate y'all having me, and y'all have a good night.
You too. And hey, anytime you want to come on with us, man, don't ever hesitate. I'll always reach out to you, and we'll hook it up again. Because I love talking to you, honestly.
For sure, man. Like I say, I appreciate y'all having me, and we'll definitely get back together.
Definitely. All right. Well, everybody, that's Jarius Wright, former Razorback great, Carolina Panther. And also I want to say something really quick, because I think my wife would have died, is that she's from Minnesota and her whole family's from there. So whenever I told her that we had Jarius coming on tonight, she just about went through the roof, because she remembers watching him play as a Viking. And so whenever I told her that, she said, "Are you kidding me? How do you know him?" And I said, "Well, I asked," and he just said, "Sure, let's jump on." So that's just how it worked. But yeah,
He's a guy that believes that much in Bobby Petrino. And I just don't think that there was anybody that Arkansas could have selected that was going to make a bigger splash and get people looking forward than what Petrino is. Now,
yeah,
we'll see what happens, as this starts to unfold. But as far as energizing the fan base and people that remember Bobby now, and again, you've got some that remember the other things too. And I think it's only fair that kind of thing is brought out. You're probably not going to hear a whole lot from Bobby Petrino now. I mean, he had his press conference today. I don't think you'll see a lot more that he'll be having to say. Everything will go through Sam Pittman, and they'll start to set this up. But watching how this unfolds, and seeing what the how the fans react, it'll be interesting to see how many that come out for the spring game, first of all, coming up, and see how it all unfolds, including the recruiting. He was talking about tight ends there, and I saw that they got a junior college tight end commitment today. So so they got a couple of guys, and there's a lot more coming, and it'll be interesting to see who they're able to nab.
I'm going to be honest with you. Whenever the offseason hit, KJ's still on campus. Now, is he gone? Well, it's to be. I mean, the future is to be told. Still, we're not quite sure yet where that goes. But going into this next season, KJ leaves, and the question mark of which OC is going to be in place had a lot of question marks for Sam Pittman, because replacing an offensive coordinator, possibly a starting quarterback, we don't know where that's going to go yet, but and try to get up to up to 6 wins on that schedule next year, which is super tough. You weren't sure exactly where the 6 wins were going to come from, just because there were so many question marks out there. I think a lot of those questions have been put to rest because just simply by the fact that Razorback fans know exactly what they're getting with Bobby.
Well, he's going to have to, he's going to make his mind up about who he wants, the kind of guy he wants at quarterback, because that's, he's going to be offensive coordinator, but he's probably going to be the quarterback's coach too.
Yep.
And working with that guy, and it's going to be very integral. Is it going to be Jacoby Criswell? Is it going to be if it's not KJ Jefferson, or is there somebody else out there? Is there a freshman out there? I've been hearing some things like that. Is there a guy in the high school ranks that may be looking at Arkansas differently now? Is this the kind of guy, And Bobby is going to have to look at the guys. What's the best guy that he needs? I mean, he was very blessed to have Ryan Mallett. He identified him, and the trains met at the right time as Mallett was leaving Michigan. Yeah. Petrino was coming in, made the transfer here to Arkansas. He gets to Louisville, and he's got Lamar Jackson, and that worked out well. So finding that the right guy, at quarterback, and identifying, is it Jacoby Criswell? Is he the guy? That's going to be a big deal too. Or is there somebody else out there? There's just a lot of interesting things I think that will be unfolding here in the next few months.
One of the things that also, I say one of the things because there's a lot of layers to this whole hire. There are multiple layers. This isn't a real clear cut, okay, this is our guy, this is who it is, we're moving on. There's a history here. And folks like to look back at the history a little bit and say, folks always seem to take more of the positive than the negative. I think that there's a good balance there, but I think that a lot of fans remember just the winning itself, because you're able to talk smack to your friends a little bit more. You're able to thump your chest a little bit more, and you took a little bit more pride in the state and wearing that Razorback on your shirt too. With that being said, fans see what they have in Bobby, and they know that there's a good possibility that winning is going to be on the horizon, which then you have ticket sales. That was one of the big things that the administration had to have been looking at and said, this is kind of floundering a little bit. We need to make something happen where it energizes the fan base and it also energizes ticket sales. And that is the one thing that, bringing Bobby back does.
Again, I don't think that they could have. There was another guy out there that was a bigger, it was a bigger splash than what Bobby Petrino was. I heard of some other guys, possibly some guys he would have been looking at, and I just don't think you could. I just don't think you could have made a bigger splash than what you did with the name of Bobby Petrino coming in. Now you just got to see what how it goes, and it maybe as this goes and they go through this recruiting process and identifying the players they want to bring in, the transfer portals and the freshmen and all that, being able to take a look or giving Sam Pittman maybe a chance to look and get involved possibly in what's going on up front, because they needed some help there as well. So.
Really quick, Leslie Bynum had she put up a Leslie Bynum put up hello Marty, across the river bridge tonight and went to Morrison Bluff and came back home. Now watching you, I'm glad there's Clarksville people in the house.
She's very close to where I'm at right now, as I'm sitting here in Scranton, Arkansas.
Oh me, I'm telling you, there's a couple others on here. Let's see here real quick. I will say that Coach Gary Thompson is one of the best high school basketball coaches in the state of Arkansas. I'm not
sure. Say that again.
She says, I will say Coach Gary Thompson is one of the best high school basketball coaches in the state of Arkansas.
He is old coach. She's talking Clarksville now. We're and Chuck Barrett knows who we're talking about. But in fact, just had a chance to be with him here just recently. We had a big get together with a lot of old classmates. So yeah,
coach, I can't say that I'm
championship team over there.
My goodness. So I can say that I'm proud because Marty and Chuck are both from Clarksville, Arkansas, and that's where I'm from. And go Hogs.
There you go.
Oh, me. So just waiting for Coach Kevin Kelly to jump on with us here in just a moment. And, this has been a real pivotal week for the state because, you had everything happen with the football program. You had everything now happen last night with Arkansas Duke. I'm going to tell you what, that Bud Walton Arena scene last night, it reminded me when I was a kid and I would come up. Only time you could get a ticket was whenever it was snowing too hard outside, honestly. And truck it down. Used to be 71. Now it's 49. But, it was so loud in there when I was a kid. And last night, it was the same way again. And, man, I'm going to tell you what, it gave me goosebumps.
Great atmosphere. I apologize for all the coughing. I've been worse. My voice is actually so much better tonight. So, yeah, absolutely great atmosphere. You thought it would be, though. I mean, it was Duke coming in. It was celebrating the opening of Bud Walton Arena 30 years ago. And Nolan's there, and Scotty Thurman's there, and Corey Beck is there, and they did the wide out, which they pulled off very nicely last night.
Yes, they did.
And they were ready to come home and see what they could do in a big game. And they responded very well. So I like this team. I especially liked it from the fact they didn't have their leading scorer and won this game. They beat number 7 Duke without their top scorer. And I thought that they shot the threes better, played defense, hit the free throws down the stretch. That always drives me crazy when you don't. So, it was a great atmosphere, great game, and it'll be interesting to see how much the SEC fines them for this time around for the fans rushing the floor.
Yeah, I noticed that Otis has got a story on that about how much the SEC did fine the university for storming the court last night. And you felt like it was one of those moments in time where, as a student, it was a defining moment in your 4 years here at Arkansas. There's a few. You have the Arkansas-Texas game from a couple of years ago. Fans stormed the field for that. And there's been a couple of non-conference or conference games, like, for instance, Auburn from a couple of years ago as well. Those are the sort of things that, as a student, you carry with you, and those are the stories that you tell your kids to not brainwash them, but encourage them to become not only Razorback fans, but maybe University of Arkansas alumni when it's all said and done. And these are the stories that they hold on to and they talk about with high school friends, college friends for the next 30, 40, 50 years.
Well, it is. It's a big game atmosphere, and I know a lot of people remember the big games that they've gone to, and grew up with Razorback basketball. This will probably rank in there. I mean, I again, so many of them. I would say that this was a good one. It was a big game against one of the programs in the country and a top 10 ranked team. Right now, I'm more excited about how this basketball team in particular is evolving. Again, you were without your number one scorer last night, and you won the game. And you had some guys really step up in this one. And I'm just looking forward to see what this team's going to be like when we hit February. Late January, February, and how solidified they may be. I think it's going to be like that every year. The early parts, you're kind of feeling things out. This is a new team. Not a lot of guys that were on this starting lineup that were here last year. Brazil was here. Debo Davis was here, but Brazil wasn't here for a long time, and we knew kind of where he was, and he had a big game last night too. But some of these other guys that they brought in and how they're melding in, I'm just watching how this team forms is going to be really fun to watch.
It is, and Dave Van Horn today had a press conference to kind of preview the season that's coming up. Kind of look back at how the Fall World Series went and the new signing class that he's bringing in for this 24 season, and we've kind of talked a lot about it before, but I'm going to tell you, man, this team's going to be loaded again.
I think so too, and he seems to be excited about it. When you get Dave Van Horn excited about it, I kind of put some stock into that. So, it looks like he's got a really, really big hitting team. Really good hitting team, and so yeah, it's going to be baseball before you know it, and watching those guys getting together. They've got a tough early schedule too. To see where they're at. I think the pitching is going to be a lot better.
I think it is too, because, man, I'm going to tell you, that was one of the things that I took away from last year was the fact that, you have your number one, number two starter go down. You had your closer that sat out for 2/3 of the year. And you said it before that you felt like Dave did his best coaching job last year with that team. Now you have a year under their belt of the constant, cadence of exactly what you need to be doing, where you need to be in those exact spots with the younger guys. Now one more year seasoned under their belts, and this almost reminds me of that, the Isaiah Campbell. Blaine. I forgot his name off the top of my head. He had 3 really good starters, and that was whenever they went to the World Series final. And I feel like he's got some of those pieces in this team that can make a deep run. I'm not going to say, and I know that Phil Ellison's talked about this before, that baseball is one of the most unpredictable sports in the entire world because all you have to do is get hot for a moment and you can take down about anybody, just about anybody. It doesn't matter how great of a season they've had. If you can catch lightning in a bottle for 3 or 4 games, that changes your entire season. But I think that with this team that Dave has, I think that they, even if they do have a slump, I think that they can catch lightning in a bottle at some point.
I think you're talking about Blaine Knight there a second.
Yeah, Blaine Knight. That's it.
Maybe. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it was Blaine Knight.
But he's got a couple of pitchers back. I think it's going to be the pitching is going to be a little more solid this year. He ran into those injuries last year, and he's not really counting on new guys coming up. He's got a couple of guys back that are going to be solid starters in that 3-man rotation. So, and it just looks like that he's got some hitters this time. I was judging some of this just looking at what was going on in the fall ball. That he's got some guys that can knock the ball around. So.
Sorry, y'all. I'm multitasking for just a second. I was on another podcast earlier, and I was multitasking them, with them too. Only thing is that this isn't the Chick-fil-A drive-through line, so I was getting stuff done, and still waiting for one more guest. I think that might be coming in with us. I'm going to have to jump off here for just a second. So, Marty, we're going to catch a break here for just a minute. And we'll be back. And this is the Huddle with Marty Houston here on hogville.net.
Tired of serving up the same old tasteless victuals to your family? Tired of serving up the same old tasteless victuals to your family? Step up your grill game with new seasonings from Cloy's Southern Eats. Based off famous Southern recipes, our seasonings will add what's been missing to your family's feast. Add it to steak, chicken, shrimp, you name it. Serving up these fixings is going to make you the hero at home. So head on over to CloysSouthernEats.com and order yours today. Come get you some.
So we are back. We're going to go over a couple of comments here. And let's see here. Leslie Bynum, let's see here. I can foresee Bobby Petrino being a head coach again, but I do like Sam Pittman, and I respect the University of Arkansas for bringing Bobby back. That's one of the things that, whenever it first was announced, I thought it would be, I wouldn't say tear the state in half. I would say it was more polarizing. He was there's no gray area with him. Either you liked him or you didn't. But I really feel like
let's be honest.
He's one of those guys that can.
If you didn't, you didn't like. I mean, he's a different personality. I didn't think it was going to happen. I heard the rumors, and didn't honestly think that Arkansas would go down that route. I didn't know how much was under the bridge, from what had happened before that would allow, and you just don't see it. I mean, let's just be honest. You just don't ever see it. How many times a coach is brought back to the same university and he's coming back in a lesser role, and so it just doesn't happen. But it worked out with the Jimbo Fisher firing at Texas A&M, and Arkansas making the change at offensive coordinator, and so when it happened, I could see what was going on and how people were kind of looking forward, and we'll see how it unfolds now. That's what's going to be interesting to see what happens over the next couple of months. The guys that they're able to get and bring in and identify, and I know that Bobby Petrino is happy for the chance, and we'll see what they do with it.
All right. It looks like Coach Kelly got caught in a torrential downpour, and he's going to be joining us here just very shortly. I did too as well. And that's why I'm up here in Rogers right now. And if you might be able to actually even hear some thunder and lightning that's going on right now. And so, that's where it's just waiting for Coach to get on here in just a second. Alrighty, so he should be joining us very shortly. And one of the reasons why I wanted to bring Coach Kelly on was because he's one of those upper echelon of offensive minds that you put him, Bobby Petrino, and a couple others in a room, and it's like offensive sparks just fly because there is so much innovation and out of the box thinking between him, Coach Petrino, a couple of the different others that are on that top level of offensive minds, not in college, but even in college football, maybe in like Joe Brady. And you put them together, and there's some real magic that happens.
Well, and he's very analytical as well. He knows offense, and you can tell why does it work? What is the differences with what you've seen? What is kind of what I just asked Jarius Wright? What are some of the differences you see in a Bobby Petrino offense from what you saw in a Dan Enos offense and what you saw in a Kendall Briles offense? And that makes it work. Does he have the personnel? What kind of guys does he need? If they aren't here now.
Yeah, and that's what I want to pick his brain about here, and just here very shortly, because he could look at this Arkansas team and he can him Petrino, they can sit there and identify where not the weaknesses, but they can identify the strengths and then bring those strengths out and create mismatches and disadvantages on the defensive side of the ball. And I think that's where you might have been lacking with the old regime that was here. Because, I mean, let's face it, Marty, you had defensive backs that were able to cover two wide receivers. With Bobby's system, you can't do that. If not, you were going to get burnt down the middle for a 65-yard touchdown. That's what we're looking at now.
Yeah. He had the personnel at Texas A&M. Don't make no bones about it. They had good recruiting classes. He had some good guys there. So, I'm kind of interested in a guy that knows offenses and what do you see, that Arkansas has that he can make work. Guys that would flourish maybe with the Bobby Petrino offense.
Yep, definitely. Hold on just a second here.
Okay.
Marty, if you mind taking this for just a second, I'm going to get Kevin his link here. I'm going to jump off my camera here for just a second.
Okay. Well, I guess I have it now, and Thursday night edition of the Huddle here on hogville.net. And Jason Patterson is working on. He had been working on and excited about getting a couple of guests on the show. We had Jarius Wright on a little earlier with us. He's excited about Bobby Petrino returning, and we've been asking that Kevin Kelly. Going to try to get him to hop on with us here in just a moment and talk with him and get some of his thoughts about that as well. So Arkansas women are playing tonight. They are in action in the ACC SEC Challenge women's style as Arkansas takes on Florida State on the road, and they've got a big week. It'll be interesting to see how many fans are on hand for the women's basketball game this Sunday, as number 2 ranked UCLA makes their way into Bud Walton Arena, and see if we get a good responding crowd with that matchup. Could be a big one for Mike Neighbors and his bunch over there. So there you go. So Jason is working on hooking up, I guess, Kevin Kelly. Seeing we've got a elongated edition of the Huddle tonight, as we've had the guests. So we'll see who's able to get hooked up here with Kevin Kelly, or if we're able to get Kevin Kelly to come on. Kind of get some of his thoughts on these state championship games that are set up for this weekend as well. I know a lot of people in Northwest Arkansas excited about the Bentonville Fayetteville matchup. Kind of a surprise, I thought, a little bit for that matchup. See what he thinks about that. Is Casey Dick here at Fayetteville and Bentonville go at it this weekend. There's a lot of folks from Northwest Arkansas going to be making their way down to War Memorial Stadium this weekend for those state championship games. So hopefully Jason's going to be getting back on here as we hold it.
I'm back. All
There it is.
righty.
Okay, I held
Hey.
it. I did my best holding it
Man,
for a
you
little
held it
bit.
down too, man. That you were holding it down. I wasn't going to leave you hanging though. I wasn't going to do that
All
to
right.
you. So
Okay.
now let's talk about the high school matchups here for just a moment. And I'm telling you, there are some pretty stinking good matchups. First off and foremost, you got Walker White taking on Kane Archer.
Yes,
That
that's
right
a
there says
rematch.
it
It'll
all.
be interesting. It was a blowout down there
Yes,
in Greenwood.
it
And
was.
yeah, and so I mean everybody was looking forward to it big right there at the end of the season. And so watching them match up for a second time, well, how much different might it be? Now it's being played in Central Arkansas. I don't know if that makes a lot of difference or not. A lot of folks interested in seeing Kane Archer, and what he's got going on there with I'm hearing the prediction this kid is the number one prospect in the country in the 2026 class, and so he'll be on full display. Both those quarterbacks will be on full display this weekend. So that's going to be a lot of fun. The Bentonville Fayetteville matchup. I know a lot of people in Northwest Arkansas are really excited about that. Casey Dix chasing his first state championship, and there's Kevin Kelly. Okay.
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
I am so sorry. I apologize.
Oh, you're good.
Raining cats and dogs out here. I was training 2 quarterbacks, as a matter of fact, and trying to get back over here. It went nuts. Anyway, I apologize profusely to anybody watching, and to you guys. So.
No, man.
Well, we were just talking about the high school championship game, and
Yeah.
you'd be good at assessing this. The 2 quarterbacks in the 6A state championship matchup. What do you think about that? That go out this Friday before we get into any of this other stuff.
I got to cover the 7A this year for Hootens, and then so I paid attention to the 6A, and then of course I went and watched PA play Greenwood. I went and watched Little Rock Christian play a couple times, so I've seen them both. Then I watched the game against Little Rock Christian between Christian and Greenwood, and what you've got 2 very different style quarterbacks. Both of them are athletic. Walker White's big, tall, fast, strong, has a cannon for an arm. Kane Archer is more of a he's quick enough, he's just fast enough, but man, he's got all the quarterback in the pocket instincts, but just enough escapability to be really, really good. I thought he would be overhyped whenever I first saw him. I'll be honest, because everybody was just blowing me up, telling me how good this quarterback is. Because around here, everybody thinks of me as like the quarterback guru. And so when I watched him play, I was like, this kid's probably the best sophomore quarterback in the nation, Kane Archer. And I think he does everything right. I think, it's hard to say, where he'll go. I don't want to put a lot of pressure on him. But right now, I talked to somebody and they were asking me about him a little higher up. And I said, this kid is right now one of a handful of kids that have a real shot to be an NFL quarterback. A real shot, because he's so detailed in some of the things he does in the pocket now, and he gets his body square. He keeps his eyes downfield, doesn't look at the God, this is going to sound awful. He's further advanced than the vast majority of college quarterbacks, and he's 15 years old. So that's saying a lot. Walker White, Greenwood, in evaluating the game, Greenwood plays the only shot Little Rock Christian has, in my opinion, is Greenwood is married to a man-to-man defense. They play a 2-high man under, and those are defenses that's a defense you do not play against a running quarterback. Okay. Nobody will play that against Lamar Jackson. Nobody's going to play that against Kyler Murray. You just don't do it. Greenwood is married to it, and they've had a lot of success. If Little Rock Christian decides to not called running plays, but drop back Walker White in a true pass where they have to guard him and run him 20 times, that's their shot to win, and I think they will. And I think Walker would run for 250 yards. Because of the situation, all those defenders are turning their back to the offense, and he's running down the field. And so, but my evaluation is Greenwood's probably favored. If I was laying the Vegas line, 13. is what I would say.
It was a blowout, down there at Greenwood when they played. Everyone was excited at the end of the season, but I'll bet we see the first public appearance after the basketball game last night by Bobby Petrino and Sam Pittman there at that game this weekend. Though I'll bet they're on hand.
If they're not, they should be, because both those quarterbacks can play. And I know Walker's committed to Auburn right now. Kane's getting, pulling in some offers, and he's the real deal. I mean, he's a really, really good football player. Arkansas, right now, I would say he's the best sophomore in the country at quarterback.
Is White? That's what we're already hearing. He's the number one prospect with the 2026 class. Let me ask you about White though, because he's going to be, coming in first. Would he be the kind of guy that's a good fit for Bobby Petrino if he was going to try to get him to flip his commitment?
We hadn't talked about Bobby yet, but I think Bobby is a magician with quarterbacks, and I think he can take a Ryan Mallett style or Tyler Wilson style and make them both fit into what he wants. And so I'd say, yeah, he can fit. Is he what he wants? No, but Bobby wants a quarterback first, and then a guy that's mobile second. But then, and I think Walker right now is 50-50. I think he likes to run as much as he likes to throw, or at least it gives that appearance. His throwing's improved a ton since last year. Last year, his feet weren't set right, and he was off target a lot. He worked a lot in the offseason, got a lot better at it. Do I think he could play in Arkansas's offense and do really well? I absolutely do. Do I think that he's the kind of quarterback that's on the highest on the priority of Bobby Petrino? I don't think so, because I don't think he wants to have to battle him on the run-throw thing, because we know this. We saw it from KJ last year. If you run too much in the SEC, it's hard to finish out the year healthy, and we need healthy quarterbacks to be able to finish out the year.
Well, that's what I was just saying. We were talking with Jarius Wright, and it's going to be really interesting, the evaluation, because Bobby Petrino is going to be the quarterback coach and the offensive coordinator, and identifying that guy. Is it Jacoby Criswell? Is it going to be somebody else? If KJ Jefferson does not come back, who he wants to work with, because they've got to make a splash pretty early on in this one. I think they need to have the right guy.
I'm a big Jacoby Criswell fan. Big Jacoby Criswell fan, and especially now that we have Bobby Petrino. And I hated that he got thrown in the Missouri game like he did, not prepared, not all the reps. Let's be honest. I don't know if Guyton's still with him or not, but that wasn't a good situation OC wise to be thrown into, and for Criswell to be that third. We played Criswell. I coached against him in his last official high school game, Morrilton. We played him in the semifinals. And I've told everybody this. Our whole game plan was to stop him. He was the best player on the field. And I went out and watched him warm up, and I never watched warm-ups. And I was like, oh, my gosh. He's better than I thought he was on film. And we did everything to stop him. He still threw for 300-something yards and ran for 200 on us. And everything was geared towards him. That's what we do. We try to take Michael Jordan away, and he was still just toyed with us. Now, we won the game 68-48. But, he moved it up and down the field, made throws that were real big-time throws, and comes from a great family. And I think he's every bit of the quarterback that Bobby Petrino could do great things with in this offense. I really, really do.
So you think he's identified he'll be the guy?
Well, I don't know. Who knows how he feels right now, what he's thinking about Bobby Petrino, how he takes to that style of coaching. It's a different world. Bobby Petrino is a different dude in that he's hard and holds him accountable. I think he softened up a little bit with the grandpa thing. That's what softened me up. I had my first one 2 weeks ago, and all of a sudden I feel like a little baby.
Me too.
But thanks. So, but yes, I think for sure if he takes to Bobby Petrino, and he's a great kid, I think he's definitely a quarterback next year that everybody in Arkansas is going to be like, freak, we had this guy sitting on the bench. In some of those hard times. I really believe that. Because the other part is this. He went to North Carolina. North Carolina prepares quarterbacks well. They have in the past, and they've done a good job. So I think he got some education there. I think Arkansas's problem with KJ, you never know. It takes the right quarterback, right fit of an OC, right fit of a quarterback coach, a whisperer, so to speak. But you've got to teach him to make pre-snap reads and get the ball out. and everybody's complaining about the offensive line, and at times, okay, I get it, whatever. But KJ wasn't helping any holding the ball back there. And you've got to have a plan and be able to mark, if they're a progression reading offense, a progression looking offense, you've got to be able to mark off 1 and 3 before the play ever starts and go, look, that's not where it's going. And I don't think KJ was doing that. And I'm not saying it was his fault. I'm saying somebody wasn't teaching him or somebody wasn't holding him accountable for it or whatever. And with Bobby Petrino, that's not an option. That's going to happen. And it's going to make the offensive line instantly better and give whatever quarterback it is, and I hope it's Jacoby right now, it's going to give him the best chance to be successful.
You touched on the offensive line there for just a second. Do you feel like with Bobby stepping in, being OC, quarterback's coach, and having more focus on that part of the offense, do you feel like that kind of frees Sam up a little bit to put more focus on the offensive line, identify some things that he might not have been able to identify because he may have had too much on his plate?
Well, I think that's the problem. When I went down and went to college, and I was at the smallest FCS school in the country, and I'll preface this by saying I didn't do a good job down there. I did a good job on offense, but I didn't do a great job as coach. And I could blame it on 5,000 excuses, but I had no idea everything that came along with being even the smallest college and FCS coach. And it was meetings and boosters and trying to raise money and media and craziness. And you get through your first 6 hours a day, you're like, I hadn't even thought about football yet, and that part comes with it. Well, Sam's kind of figured that out a little bit, I'm sure. But at the end of the day, I don't think he helped out the O-line this year at all. But I don't think he was helping the quarterbacks either. I think he just decided, I'm going to let my guys do their jobs. And we all know that shouldn't have been the case. From the outside looking in, sometimes it's easier. I'm not blaming Sam Pittman. Sometimes on the inside, you can't see it. But we all know, that they needed help on the O-line. And by all accounts, some of the biggest names in FBS college coaching right now have told me Sam Pittman is one of the best offensive line coaches, if not the best, those words used in the country, and needs to be coaching the offensive line, whether he's head coaching or not. And it's just tough to not spread yourself too thin. And I'm sure he thought, because if you looked at practice, he's standing at the 50-yard line, kind of being the CEO a little bit. And he probably needed his hand more in the offensive line cookie jar. But I'm sure he made the decision not to because he thought it was the best. But from the outside looking in, that's what we needed help with. So does Petrino free him up to help with the O-line? No, that part's the only part. That's not going to make a difference. That's just Sam choosing to do that or Sam choosing not to. And I know this, though. If that offensive line is the most important thing on our team, period. On any team that's got an offensive-minded OC, I mean, like a real heavy-handed, we're going to win games scoring points, you better give time to your offensive line because the rest doesn't matter if they're not doing a good job or if they don't know their assignments or blow an assignment at the wrong time, that kind of thing.
Well, that's something we were talking about a while ago, Coach. Whether or not, do they need to get new offensive linemen? What do the guys that they have, do you think that they were good enough, or do they need to upgrade?
No, I mean, if you can upgrade, it always helps. But I don't think the guys were nearly as bad as everybody said this year. The only thing I worry about them is if they completely lost confidence because of the way things went. Because they were being piled on by the media, piled on evidently by some players on our team even. Because you look at the end result and you go, okay, we got sacked 5 times the last 3 games or whatever, 5 times a game. People just go, well, the offensive line sucks. That's not always the case. The quarterback holds it, or a bad play's called that doesn't match up with the defense and nobody's getting open. I mean, there's a million reasons. And so would it be nice to upgrade some guys? Absolutely it would. Do I think it's absolutely a necessity? No, we're going to be better on offense, period, because Bobby Petrino walked in. But I will say this, if I was in charge of NIL money and you go, okay, where do we look first to spend our money? Not just because of this last year, but every stinking year, it's going to be offensive line. Every year. I've taken O-lines that were average. I mean, I've taken quarterbacks and receivers that were really high-level skill guys. And if the offensive line has a bad year, it's tough. I don't care who your quarterback is. I don't care who your receivers are, your running back. And I've taken quarterbacks that weren't great at all, and receivers that were average at best and running back that was average and I had fantastic O-lines, and people still thought we were great because we had our quarterback throw for 5,000 yards and a running back run for 1,000 yards. O-line is where I would spend my money every single year, first and foremost.
A couple of things.
Coach,
really
how
quick here.
surprised were you?
Go ahead.
Coach, how surprised were you that Bobby Petrino was named the offensive coordinator?
Well, I'm proud to say, I didn't go specifics, but if you'll look back at November 16th on Twitter, I posted about Bobby Petrino coming back to Arkansas. November 16th. And I got blasted on there saying there's no way that'll happen. People were posting the rule about not being able to come back if you were fired with cause, and all this kind of stuff. I really thought that I think I said something to the effect of A&M will probably name him interim so Arkansas can't go after him. And so I'm not surprised at all. I'm surprised. I'm proud that they had the guts to do it because they knew they were going to catch a little backlash. All the polls I've seen were over 90% are glad he's back, but they're going to catch some backlash about the way it went down. They were smart. They know he can't. They couldn't hire him back as head coach probably, but you could hire him back in this position now that it's been 12 years or whatever it's been. So, that tweet kind of proves that I was not surprised at all, and I wasn't. I think desperate times bring desperate measures. It really does. And we were in desperate times. And we know this. There's not anybody up there that doesn't think this guy can call offensive plays. And that's the great equalizer in the game of football. It's one thing to be a good offensive coach or a play designer, but the in-game play calling is the great equalizer in the game of football if there ever was one. And this guy's the best at it. I mean, he's in the top 3 in the country, probably at any level. And I just thought that's what we needed, and desperate time called for desperate measures. And I just saw the writing on the wall. When Jimbo leaves, the next guy's not going to keep him. You're going to bring your own guy in, and he's going to be out there. We're going to go get him. So that's why I thought it and wasn't surprised.
So really quick, Leslie Bynum had a question, and she asked Coach if you would ever be interested in becoming the running backs coach at Arkansas.
I'd take any job.
I'm not sure whether
I'd take just about any job. What did she say exactly? You faded out on me. Would I be the one?
Sorry. Would you ever consider being the running backs coach at Arkansas?
Oh yeah, I'd be any coach at Arkansas. I mean, it's a dream. That's when you're an Arkansas kid and you grew up in the state, how would you not want to, coach the Razorbacks? So, obviously anything that ever opened up there, as long as I'm still wanting to coach and loving it and feeling young enough to do it and can do a good job, it's a fantasy job. It's a dream job. I've got one fantasy out of the way and I got one more left. So that's that. And I'm, you don't pursue that, but if it happens, it happens. So yeah, absolutely.
And I want to ask you one more thing before we get you out of here. And Marty was kind of touching on the high school side of it. You've got Fayetteville taking on Bentonville this coming Saturday, and I'm really intrigued to see Carter and I going up against Drake Lindsay. And Carter, he's battled injury this season. I watched a couple of games. The Springdale game, he didn't play really at all. And, that Bentonville offense was still able to move the football. But I think that with Nye being healthy again, I really think that they're going to be able to push Fayetteville and really take them to task this time around. I know that Fayetteville kind of put their foot on the Bentonville neck towards the end of that game. It was a 41-21 win. But I think this is going to be a little bit more competitive where it might come down to the last possession and who has the ball last.
Yeah, again, I got to cover 7A this year and watch a lot of video on both those teams. Bentonville is just so fundamentally sound that they got to stick in the backup quarterback and still be pretty good. And he did a nice job and they didn't ask too much. I mean, they're just super well coached and just good and fundamental. And of course they got CJ Brown. And if you're dumb enough to kick it to him, or punt it to him, he can definitely make up for some points quickly. But I do think, and I think Carter Knight does a good job. Don't get me wrong. I got to watch him a lot. I think Drake Lindsey's probably the best quarterback in the state right now. For if you like a pocket passer that can see the field, make all the throws they like to say, and all that kind of stuff, I think he's the best quarterback. I went against Fayetteville a few times this year in my picks. They make me pick. And I went against them because their defense just kept giving up a lot of points and playing high-scoring games, which are fun to watch. But I just worried, in my article week before last, I said if there's an upset in this round, it was going to be Fort Smith Southside beating Fayetteville, which everybody thought was crazy, but you had a 30-24 game.
Yeah.
But now I'm done with that. The streak, you play on a streak, and these guys are on a streak, and they're on a run, and they're undefeated, and nobody's beating them. And it doesn't matter how they played or who they played. Their guys are super confident and believe that they're the best team in the state. That overcomes a lot of little mistakes here and there because they think they'll find their way after a mistake and fight their way back because we're the best, whether they are or not. I think that it's kind of good for Fayetteville that there's nobody to key on the receiving side. Jason Delamar is good. I mean, they got some good receivers, but there's not a C.J. Brown that you're like, we have to take him out of the game. And so I don't think Lindsey cares who he throws it to, and I don't think Casey Dick cares who he throws it to. And I think that's an advantage on offense. When I've had teams like that, I've enjoyed that where you're just calling a play. You're not trying to get it to a guy. You're attacking the weakness of a defense. Fayetteville has a couple of studs on the defensive line that I think are going to be a little bit of equalizers for some of the things that Bentonville can do. I think it's going to be a really tight game, but I think Fayetteville gets the win and first state championship in a bit.
All right, well, Coach, thank you for coming on. It's been a true pleasure talking with you and just kind of picking your brain a little bit. This is the first time we've gotten to talk to you, and I'm telling you, it's been a real treat. I really appreciate it, and thank you so much for coming on tonight. I'm
so sorry again that I was late. I'm so sorry. I feel awful about that. But anyway, apologies and hope you still got what you wanted out of it. And
Coach, we'll get you to come back and spend a whole show with you. How about that?
All right. Sounds good. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep. All right. Well, Marty, let's get you out of here, my man. Y'all, I want to say take care. Thank you all for jumping on with us tonight. We've had a packed show. Coach Kevin Kelly had former Razorback and NFL wide receiver Jarius Wright on tonight. And always make sure to go over, check out KoiSouthernEats.com for all of their great products. And y'all take care and have a great night.
Tired of serving up the same old tasteless victuals to your family? Step up your grill game with new seasonings from Koi's Southern Eats. Based off famous Southern recipes, our seasonings will add what's been missing to your family's feast. Add it to steak, chicken, shrimp, you name it. Serving up these fixings is going to make you the hero at home. So head on over to KoiSouthernEats.com and order yours today. Come get you some.